Hey, welcome back. Today we are going to learn about 3.2, lesson 3.2, adding rational numbers. So you should write that down on the top of your notes if you haven't. Adding rational numbers 3.2. Our essential question is, how can you add rational numbers? If we look back to yesterday's notes, we remember that a rational number is a fraction or a decimal or even a whole number. So today we're going to focus on adding decimals and fractions. All right, let's take a look at the rules for adding decimals. Pretty simple. All you got to do is always line up the decimals. I like to put the longer number on top. You don't necessarily have to, but it seems to always just make things a little easier. For this first problem, we don't have one that's longer. So let's go practice. It says Malachi hikes for 2.5 miles and stops for lunch. Then he hikes 1.5 more miles. How many miles did he hike altogether? Now, some of you could maybe mental math this one, but let's practice the rules. So 2.5, and we said we are going to line up the decimals. Plus 1.5. If you didn't write this over here, you need to write always line up the decimals when adding decimals. So maybe writing the question, how do you add decimals? And then writing always line up the decimals will help you. And putting this problem in. All right, we lined up the decimal. We can put the decimal down here because they're lined up. That's the rules. 5 plus 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 plus 1 is 3 plus 1, 4. So how far did he hike altogether? 4 miles. All right, you could have used the number line as well. I don't really like to use the number line when doing fractions and decimals personally. It's just hard to tell where some of those lines are supposed to be. All right, how do you add fractions? So you should be writing that question down in your notes. Remember to pause the video so you can keep up. You need to convert to improper fractions if needed. So there's a problem right down here at the bottom. 1 1/2. We're going to have to convert that to an improper fraction. I'll talk about that when we get there. Now, when needed. So this first problem, there is no improper fractions, or there is no mixed numbers, so we don't have to create improper fractions. Next step, find a common denominator. You need to have a common denominator when adding fractions. Have to have a common denominator. That's a big one. Then add the top two numbers. So add all the top numbers, and you keep the bottom number the same. So whatever that common denominator is, that's staying in that fraction. That's staying in that answer. Keep that the same. Hopefully you paused and you were able to write down all of those rules so you can check back later on. All right, let's go add some fractions. So it says Kyle pours out 3/4 liter of liquid from a beaker. Then he pours out another 1/2 liter of liquid. What's the overall change in the amount of liquid? So he pours out a negative 3/4. Why is it negative? Because he's losing liquid from the beaker. Plus, he loses some more. Plus a negative 1/2 liter. So what's our total? Well, the problem is that we don't have a common denominator. Well, if I look, can the smaller denominator go into the other denominator? Yes, it can evenly. 2 goes into 4. How many times does it take 2 to go into that 4? 2 times. So let's multiply this one by 2 to get our common denominator. Did we have to change the top one? Nope, that was our common denominator. So I'm going to rewrite it, negative 3/4 plus a negative. Well, now we have 1 times 2 on top, 2 and 4. Now do we have a common denominator? Yes, we do. Now our next rule says add the top numbers. Negative 3 plus a negative 2 is a negative 5. And it says then keep the bottom number the same. Keep that common denominator of 4. It's negative 5/4. We want to convert that back to a mixed number. How many 4s fit into 5? 1, so negative 1. And if we take 4 from that 5, how many remain? 1. Negative 1 and 1/4. And what is this? It is liters of liquid. So we're going to say liters. Remember to pause the video, go back if you have to listen to more. That will be useful as well. All right, 3 plus 1 1/2. Now you could use the number line, or let's just do the math. I'm going to write it down here in the corner. So 3 plus 1 1/2. There's a problem here. First off, 3 is not a fraction. We need them both to be fractions. So I'm going to make it a fraction. 3 over what? What does it make? Well, what do we have to put on here to make a fraction? 1. 3 over 1. Whole numbers always have a 1 on the bottom. Plus, let's see here, we have a 1 1/2. Well, we don't want that mixed number. We want improper fraction. So let's go change that. I'm not going to change the 3 over 1. Changing the second number, 1 1/2. You take the bottom, and this is important, bottom, multiply by the whole number, so 2 times 1. And then you add the top, plus 1. So 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3 over 2. Can we add yet? Hopefully you said no. Why? Because they don't have a common denominator, so we need to have a common denominator. Well, can the smaller one, which is a 1, go into 2? Absolutely. How? What do we have to multiply by? 2. So now I have 6 over 2 plus 3 over 2. And what do I get? Well, I have to add the top numbers. 6 plus 3 is 9. And keep the bottom number, which is 2. Keep your common denominator. Let's rewrite that as a mixed number. We don't like finishing our answers with improper fractions unless told to. How many times does 2 fit into 9? 2, 4, 6, 8. That's 4 over 2 here. And how many remain? Well, we said 8, so we'll subtract 8 from 9. 1 remain. So our answer is 4 1/2. All right, the next one, we line up our decimals. Negative 2.5 plus a negative 4.5. Bring your decimal down. Now when we add the same with the same signs, bring with the sign. 5 plus 5 is 10. 4 plus 2 is 6. Plus 1 is 7. So our answer is negative 7. Don't forget, if you need to, pause the video. Moving on to the next problem. During the day, the temperature increases by 4.5 degrees. At night, the temperature decreases by 7.5 degrees. What's the overall change? Well, we have different signs here. We have 4.5 plus a negative 7.5. Why is it negative? Because that was a decrease. That decrease means negative. Well, what do we do when we have two different signs? When they're different signs, if we remember from a couple chapters ago, you have to subtract them. Take the bigger number, 7.5, subtract off the littler number, and bring the decimal down. So 0, 5 minus 5, 0. 7 minus 4 is 3. And then we have to ask ourselves, is this positive or is this negative? Well, it's negative. Why? Because there's more negatives. 7.5 is bigger than 4.5. So negative 3. And then what would be our label? Negative 3 degrees. All right. Ernesto writes a check for $2.50. Is that a positive or a negative if you write a check? That's a negative $2.50. Then he deposits $6 in his checking account. So plus, the deposit is good. He's gaining money. Plus $6. What's the overall increase or decrease? Well, the signs are different again, so we have to find the difference. Take the bigger number, 6. Notice that I added a decimal, so I could line up the decimals, and I added the zeros to fill. 6 minus $2.50. 0 minus 0 is 0. have to borrow, make this a 10, borrow from the 6, make that a 5. Bring the decimal down before I forget. 10 minus 5, 5. 5 minus 2, 3. Now, is that a positive $3.50 or is that a negative? I'm going to write it over here. Let's see if it's positive or negative. Which one is bigger? $2.50, that's a negative, or $6, that's positive? $6. So is that an increase or a decrease? It was an increase because it's positive $3.50. Very good. Don't forget to pause the video if you need to. All right. Do negative 3 plus 2 and 2 plus negative 3 have the same sum? So when you add them together, would you get the same answer? Does it matter if the negative number is the first addend or the second addend? Or would you get the same? Absolutely, you get the same. So does it matter? No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which one is first and which one is second. You will always get the same answer. Number 5 down there. Do you think the sum of a negative number and a positive number will always be negative? So if I add a negative and a positive, will it always be negative? No, it will not. Let's give an example. What do I mean? If I add a negative and a positive, I could add a positive, I'm just going to 10 plus a negative 5. Is that going to be a positive or a negative? That's going to be a positive 5 because there's more positives. So it's not always going to be negative when adding. Let's go to the next page. A couple of review questions here for you. Negative 8 plus 5, the signs are different. Is there more negatives or positives? There's more negatives. And how many more negatives? 3 more negatives. All right, 1/2 plus a negative 3/4. Well, we have an issue. Let's go try that and figure out what our issue is. What's our issue? We don't have a common denominator, 4 and 2. Well, 2, the smaller denominator, can evenly go into 4. So times that by 2 to get a common denominator. 2/4 plus a negative 3/4. Well, the signs are different. So we're going to subtract. We know we're going to keep the denominator as 4. We're going to subtract our 3 and 2 to get 1. Now, is there more negatives or positives? There is more negatives because 3 is bigger than 2. Negative 1/4. Another review question here. Negative 1 plus 7. Which is going to be positive or negative? It's positive. How many more positives are there? 6. All right. 2.5 plus negative 2.5. Well, I don't have to do anything. They are opposites. They're additive inverses of each other. They create a 0 pair. 0. How about these decimals? Negative 4.5 plus 4.5. They are additive inverses of each other as well. They make 0 pairs. So 0. Remember to pause the video if you need to. Tina spent $5.25 on craft supplies to make friendship bracelets. She made $3.75 on Monday selling those. And on Tuesday, she sold an additional $4.50 worth of bracelets. What was Tina's overall profit or loss? Remember, profit means she makes money. Loss means she loses money. So does she make money or lose money? Let's go write down what we know. We know that she spent $5.25. So that's a negative. Plus, she gained $3.75. Plus, she gained $4.50. Now, there are a lot of different ways that we could go about solving this. Let's add together our two positives. So we're going to line them up. 450 plus 375. Put a decimal down. 0 plus 5 is 5. 7 plus 5 is 12. Here's the 1. 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 1 is 8. 825 is how much she's made. But what else did she have to do? She had to spend $525 plus the money she made, $825. Now the signs are different. What are we going to do when the signs are different? We're going to find the difference. We're going to subtract them. So 825 minus 525. Put the decimal. 5 and 5 subtract 0. 2 and 2 subtract 0. 8 minus 5, 3. So $3. But is that a positive or a negative? It's positive because the $825, the amount she made, was more than how much she spent, $525. So we say that she had a $3 profit. Yeah, she made money. Okay, I want you to pause the video and then try these below. All right, hopefully you paused it. Hopefully you tried them. You could do all of these in so many different ways. You could do the first two. You could do the last two. You could do the first and last together. It doesn't matter. You could do whatever you want. All right, first answer, hopefully you got, is 4. If you didn't, go back, check and see what you did wrong. See if you can get 4. The next one is -1. There we go, -1. If you didn't get that, make sure to go back and check. The next one, -1 again. If you didn't get that, please go back and check. And last but not least, you should have had 20. If you didn't get that, please go back and check. All right, best of luck on your homework. Let me know if you have questions.